We are the Division Reserve. 5 battalions have already landed. It is tough. We can see that. A dark pall of angry conflict obscures the beaches. From this distance, it is impersonal. Until you see what happened to the 3rd Armored Amphibian Tractor Battalion. Some who can talk tell us the beach approach is zeroed in, and artillery is so thick a jackrabbit couldn't get through. It's our job to prove they're wrong. As we come into the ring of fire, we concede a point. It's rough. Some of our guys in the other vehicles don't quite make it. As we hit the coral, some of us don't either. They've got the entire area enfiladed, and while they keep us pinned down, we get a chance to count the cost. It runs high in dollars and cents. Other commodities don't have a price tag. As we push inward, we find the first 100 yards heavily mined with every kind conceivable. Seems to come from everywhere, from steel, concrete, and coral positions, invisible to us, but connected with each other by a series of spider holes. From caves in the jagged coral waste, from the peaks, from beneath boulders. You can't shoot it if you can't see it. We stumble into a deep anti-tank trench, and enemy fire pins us down for hours. From the sea approach, it is impregnable. We must fight inland, fight upward, and attack from the rear. Until this nest is cleaned out, other units cannot continue their advance. You spot a coral bunker, it spits at you. You lob a few grenades. Nothing. So you call for help. When finally we take it, there are 30 of us left. And after holding it for 30 hours against day and night counterattacks, there are 15. But we hold.
Command was worried. Reports coming back disclosed 2 major gaps in our lines, so serious that any counterattack in force between the ridge and the beach might well sweep us back into the ocean, already littered with the wreckage of our gear.
The 5th Marines in the center fight their way to the edge of the open airfield, move eastward, and bisect the southern portion of the island. On the extreme right in the southern zone, the 7th Marines find going rough. The littered beach and the reef force their Amtraks into columns, slowing, exposing to enemy action. Certain elements are landed out of position, and the resulting traffic snarl delays the initial impetus. But an anti-tank trench, similar to the one which tied down elements of the 1st Marines, is a boon to us. It offers a needed source of orientation. It enables us to move laterally into position with some measure of protection. Then, the counteroffensive we've been expecting developed in the form of a well-coordinated tank infantry attack on target area 134R. None of our tanks is immediately available, so the Marines go to work with rifle, carbine, machine gun, bazooka, mortars, artillery. Tanks right our exclamation point. 3 hours after landing, the enemy tank unit on Peleliu has ceased to exist, with 4 exceptions, which are later corrected at the junction point of the 1st and 5th Marines.
But although the individual Marines and their units were showing wonderful initiative and overcoming the unexpectedly difficult resistance, we were far short of our schedule. General Peters, partially disabled with a broken ankle and commanding from afloat, was anxious to move his headquarters ashore.
But the area of penetration by our troops was so small that General O.P. Smith ashore recognized the possibility that a well-launched counterattack might overrun or artillery might wipe out the entire echelon of command with one lucky hit.
There is a time during an amphibian assault when the invader is the least able to withstand a determined counterattack. On Peleliu, that moment had arrived.
The 15th of September song, 1944. Was a nightmare in Nocturne for the officers and men of the 1st, 5th, and 7th Marine Regiments. Due to heavy losses of Amtraks, supplies, mainly water, were unavailable, and many a man came to know the racking torture of the dry heaves brought on by exhaustion and 115-degree heat.
They sprang new weapons on us. A sawed-off 200-millimeter naval gun. A strange sort of rocket that came swooshing out of nowhere. We never did find out where and how that was launched. And a new deadly 150-millimeter mortar. A single shell from one of these caused 92 casualties, but it scored a direct hit on a crowded area.
Command was waiting for the familiar banzai. But Colonel Tokichi Tada, Chief of Staff to Colonel Nakagawa, was one of Japan's brilliant tacticians. He refused to waste his manpower, withdrawing them in good order to the hilly peaks and ridges he had chosen for his final defense. On D+2, we start through this ravine. They are ready. Hill 200 is on our left. 210 is on our right. We wheel left and begin the assault. Tanks and Amtraks attempting to help are knocked out right and left. So, we do it the hard way. But we do it. and spend the next night and the next day under withering fire from Hill 210 across the gulch, mere yards away. Other units find their way barred by this: walls of concrete and steel 4 feet thick, crawling with the enemy, and untouched by bombs or naval gunfire. We could do it by hand, but there's an easier way. We call on another member of the team, the battleship Mississippi. We do the rest, and move on until we skirt the damp swamp and find the logical entrance into the maze of mountainous coral peaks. This is Horseshoe Valley, and though we will fight here for 30 long days, we will never capture it. On D+3, Hill 210 falls, and we continue our advance until we are faced with this unbelievable monstrosity of jagged, perpendicular peaks, coral ridges, and almost unscalable heights. We do not know it at this time, but these are the infamous 5 Sisters. Our names for them are deleted by censor. Under this covering fire, we move in. We gain some ground, but not much. The Sisters have our number, and will have for 28 long eternities, sometimes called days. Casualties are high. Within a week, the 1st Marine Regiment loses 58% of its overall strength. The 40 hospital corpsmen and 96 stretcher bearers assigned to each battalion are not enough. The first man is about to be shot. We run past an exposed position. Emergency aid is quickly administered. As we round the point of this cliff, enemy snipers find our range. A rifleman gives covering fire and goes down. Corpsmen and buddies remove him under savage enemy counterfire. We pour it in as the wounded stretcher bearer is helped to the rear. Now the original wounded must be dragged from this lethal spot. Watch the man behind. From 4, we dwindle to 2 bearers. The rifleman, carried away, can now walk. His buddy is not so lucky. 2 others help the fallen man. The original stretcher, with a new bearer, goes on. Our buddies pour lead by the bucketful as other bearers spring forward. We began with 1 wounded. 5 have fallen before he reaches the safety of the rear areas. He and others are on their way to the best medical care the world affords. strategical purposes, the island is ours. But our reserves are all committed. We need reinforcements. On September 23rd, the 321st Regimental Combat Team of the 81st Infantry Division, United States Army, comes aboard. Their victory at Anguar has sharpened them, and in 4 days, they seal off the northern end of the 900 by 400-yard maze of coral hills, caves, and valleys called the Umal Pocket. The Umal Pocket, 36,000 square yards of unbelievable resistance. First encountered on D+2, we will still be fighting here on D+22.
Any rational man would have surrendered. Colonel Nakagawa was not a rational man. He still had 6,000 troops, and they would fight to the death.
To clear the peaks of underbrush and reveal enemy positions, Marine planes dropped napalm on the Sisters, Brothers, Baldy, 100, Walt and Boyd Ridges, and other specified targets. Wheels down for takeoff. Wheels down for bombing. Wheels down for landing, rearming, and then repeat the cycle. Shortest bomb run in history. More spectacular than effective. Their battle summary, to be captured at a later date, will say, since perfecting a fire defense, we have suffered no casualties. When the flames have died, they run out of their caves and reman their weapons. There is Walt's Ridge, better known as Bloody Nose. It commands the height, dominating the supply line on the east and Horseshoe Valley on its left. Twice on September 19th, the Marines assault Walt Ridge. The second attack carries to a ridge top below the main elevation. From above and from the Five Brothers across Horseshoe Valley comes withering fire. The following day, reinforced and following the tanks, we move forward to the jump-off line. And once again, we are unsuccessful. Round 3, all his. On the morning of the 22nd, round 4. In the afternoon, round 5. He has rocked us back on our heels, and for 11 days we will call time out to fight elsewhere. Bloody Nose is his. By October 3rd, successes on the northern sector of the pocket make a combined action possible. Artillery is zeroed on the Five Brothers. Planes drop napalm to keep him in his caves. While the 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, storm upward on Walt Ridge to engage the enemy in round 7 for the capture of Bloody Nose. Simultaneously, the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, storms peaks 1, 3, 4, and 5 of the Sisters. K Company, 7th Marines, with tank support, slugs its way into Death Valley to attack peak number 2. They are driven back. Enemy fire from every direction forces the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines from the other peaks, and the withdrawal and consolidation is effected 100 yards from the original morning assault positions. But round 7 of the battle for Walt Ridge, Old Bloody Nose, goes to the 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines by a knockout.
After 6 attempts, the Marines had made it, and this time they stayed. Heaven, high water, and you know what, were not going to dislodge them.
On October 15th, D-Day plus 30 days of incessant battle, the relief of the Marines begins. The 1st, 5th, and 7th Marine Regiments have sustained reductions of 50% of their overall strength. They have fought for and won the Island, Hill 140, Ridge 3, Baldy, Boyd Ridge, Boyd Draw, the 3 Knobs, Hill 100, Hill 120, Gustavus Island, and many others. To the 81st Division United States Army, they leave the remainder of Umal Pocket, which includes the 5 Sisters, Horseshoe Valley, the 5 Brothers, Wildcat Bowl, Death Valley, and the China Wall.
But as command surveyed the wreckage of Japanese equipment, we were thankful that the enemy had employed it badly. If they had concentrated all their available artillery fire on the beaches, very few would have lived through it. We thank the good Creator that they did not.
On the faces of the hills, the deep scars of battle.
But the vegetation of time will cover these until no trace remains.
On the faces of the men, the deep lines of ordeal.
But the years of peace will fill and relax them.
In the valleys, on the beaches, atop the crest, lies the wreckage.
But all this can be salvaged, remolded to more useful purposes.
In the bosom of the earth lie the men,
but not their spirit. With their magnificent effort, they indicated their desire. Their proxy was left in our keeping.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.